Hello, everyone, and I am very pleased to welcome you all as you are entering the Zoom room to the CWIM Q4 Original, Leading Through Disruption, AI and the Next Frontier. For those of you who I have not met, my name is Ariel Bitoni, and I am the Program Director for Collaborative WIM, and I am delighted to welcome you to today's program. If you are joining us for the first time, I would like to invite you to visit the Collaborative WIM website at collaborativewim.org after our program today, where you can learn more about our mission and upcoming initiatives. CWIM works closely with the CFA network globally, bringing together more than 90 organizations and hundreds of volunteer leaders to advance the investment professionals through education, programming, and collaboration. We are thrilled to be partnering today with CFA Society Colorado and CFA Society Romania as our co-hosts for this event. Thank you both for your continued collaboration and support to make the program happen today. So to open, I'd first like to invite a few representatives from our co-host societies to share a few words. So Madalena, I'd like you to join me first. And I also want to thank you for helping to lead the CWIM Engagement Committee and for all the work that you do to champion our mission.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. It is a pleasure to join you today on behalf of CFA Society Romania as one of the co-hosts of this interesting panel. It's great to see so many familiar faces and to be part of conversations that are so relevant for the future of our industry. I also want to share that as a member of Collaborative WIM, it is especially meaningful for me to support this event and be part of a network that champions diversity and collaboration across the investment profession. We are especially proud to support this event along CFA Society Colorado and to continue the dialogue we started as a CFA conference in Chicago, where Marina and Lynn had shared some truly inspiring perspectives. And of course, we are equally honored to have Joyce and Dustin with us. Thank you all for sharing your insights and expertise. Now I would love to introduce Mihaela Luția, a board member of CFA Society Romania, who will say a few words about our society. Thank you, Mihaela.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our panel discussion. I'm really happy to be here representing CFA Society Romania as we join this truly important conversation today, leading through disruption, AI and the next frontier. At CFA Society Romania, we're all about integrity, professionalism, and inclusivity in the investment world. I'm especially proud that about 40% of our members are women, a reminder that diverse voices make our community stronger and our decisions smarter. Regarding the today theme, we all know that the world is changing fast, and AI is reshaping how we think, work, and lead. So it's not just about technology. It's also about people, creativity, and how we use innovation to build a better, more resilient future. So thank you to our wonderful panelists and everyone joining us today. Let's dive in and explore how we can live with confidence, curiosity, and a human touch in this AI-driven world. Back to you, Marina.
Thank you, Mihaela, and thank you, Madalena. Next, I would like to welcome Katie Lizotte, President of CFA Society Colorado, to say a few words on behalf of our U.S. co-host society.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we're thrilled to be a part of this. I think every single person on this webinar today has asked themselves, what am I supposed to do about this AI thing? And how does it impact me on a day-to-day basis at work? And that's a big part of why we wanted to take part in this panel. We've gotten involvement with the CWIM for several years through some of the various CFAI leadership conferences and whatnot is how we initially got together with the collaborative WIM group, and we're thrilled to be a part of this and just really see how it furthers everybody's mission, and we're all aligned in that way. So thank you so much for having us today. We appreciate it. We're thrilled to be one of the hosts and look forward to seeing what everyone has to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you to both societies for your partnership and leadership. It's now my pleasure to introduce our featured moderator for today's discussion, Marina Severanovsky. Marina is Head of Sustainability for North America at Schroders, where she leads sustainability and ESG integration across the region. She is also a recurring guest and a longtime friend of Collaborative WIM. Marina, thank you so much for joining us once again and for leading today's conversation, which I think we're all looking very much forward to. I'd like to turn the floor over to you where you can introduce our panel and get the conversation going.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Ariel. We were just talking in the pre-chat that this is the fourth year, I think, that I've been involved in some way in the annual event. So obviously, I'm very honored and very grateful to be able to participate. And I always say, with like complete honesty, this is probably my favorite kind of event that I do during the year. I did look. I've done 21 sort of speaking panels, like something conferences, engagements this year, and I think it's no different. This is probably the best one, in the sense that I think in this group culturally. We come to the table not just as amazing professionals, and you'll see the panelists that I have are incredible professionals, but also I think we come much more personally as kind of people. We bring ourselves more authentically to the conversation. I find in a lot of what I do, people are, kind of putting up their professional front, and they don't want to have a lot of vulnerability, right? They're just coming as experts. But I think here we're coming to the conversations as sort of like fellow professionals and human beings. And this topic in particular, can generate a lot of enthusiasm, but also, some nervousness, right? As was sort of mentioned, right? Kind of change in the future, and how do we all navigate that change, again, personally and professionally. So really excited to do it. Love the topic and the panel. I would love to have first, I think, everybody on the panel introduce themselves. Better to hear from you directly, and in particular, your connection to the topic. And I'll say a few words on kind of my connection on AI as well afterwards. So maybe we can start. I guess the way I'm seeing you guys, maybe Joyce, and then Austin, and then Lynn.
Sure, happy to start. And thank you so much for the intro, Marina. And it's such an honor to be here. My involvement or admiration of CWIM started when it started. So it's been a while, and then I'm so happy to finally being able to contribute it so directly. So my background is I was an institutional investor for almost 2 decades, leading investments in mutual funds, hedge funds, ETFs, and you name it. And in 2022, I decided I wanted to do something else. And I co-founded a fintech startup using AI to do financial planning. And then eventually I pivoted to what I'm doing now, which is AI advisory for board directors and finance leaders on their AI strategy and oversight. I got the opportunity to talk to many investment team leaders, but also operational leaders in asset management industry on their AI use or their AI challenges. So very happy to be here and share some of the insights from those conversations.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, sure. Let me just get started by saying I love the energy of this group, and I'm very honored to be here. My name's Austin Sensman, so I guess I'm representing CFA Society of Alabama. I am a CFA charter holder. I started my career in risk management and venture capital, and then took a sharp right turn to data analytics, tech startups, and artificial intelligence. And over the last couple of years, I've been running a group here in Birmingham, Alabama called Birmingham AI. And we'll have about 1,000 people at our events this month. And we focus on practical, accessible knowledge for really just anyone who is curious, anxious, and wants to engage with this moment. So I appreciated some of the comments at the beginning about this being presented as a technical issue, but it's very much a human problem. And I'm very interested in helping people just navigate this moment. It affects so many people in so many unique ways. And then professionally, Birmingham AI is sort of my community service. Professionally, I am doing the difficult work of trying to actually help business leaders integrate this into their daily operations, which turns out to not be that easy. And so anyway, that's me. I'm looking forward to sharing some ideas with this great group of people.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn Rapsalmon. Very excited to be here as well in this distinguished panel with these very experienced experts. Today, I'm talking to you as an advisory board member of the CFA Institute, which I have supported as a CFA charter holder throughout the years, and also as a senior advisor of Collaborative WIM. In my previous roles, I've led many clients in the financial industry through digital transformation, automating their processes, helping them make better investment decisions. And today, we call all of this just AI. So currently, I am leading a company where we also make use of a new AI technology to support vocational education. And in the course of figuring out if AI was going to make us redundant, I've dug deep into the emerging technologies and on the way found that they had amazing potential, but could also fail in spectacular and sometimes hilarious ways. And that inspired me to write my book called Artificial Intelligence, which spotlights AI blunders with a dash of humor, but also gives a glimpse behind the curtain of what we can and cannot expect from AI in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you all. And then I was going to say, just, as the head of sustainability at a large asset manager, my interaction with the topic comes from a couple of different places. As a corporate, Schroders, again, as an asset manager, obviously, we're integrating the use of AI into our work. We actually have a captive ChatGPT 5 sort of system internally called Genie, and we're very encouraged as an organization to create a lot of use cases for it across our business to sort of make us more efficient as investors and also collaborators with our clients and kind of digging into market knowledge, all the things that AI can do. On the sustainability front, there's just a lot that sort of AI brings from an environmental perspective. It's obviously very energy hungry and very, very water thirsty. And then especially on the social front, which, where we focus a lot with the companies we invest with and their kind of how they work with their labor, right, with their workers, employees. And so kind of what are the potential impacts? And I think we're going to touch on that in this session, right? What are the potential impacts, to workers, especially early stage, early career workers, people getting into the industry, and then over the arc of their careers, how do we navigate again that sort of change in the workforce? So a lot of interesting ways to look at it, both again positive and then kind of with some concerns or kind of needing to navigate change. So that's great. And so I'd love to ask, I think especially with Joyce, so I think this is a really kind of key topic from your perspective, but I think everybody can kind of weigh in from their individual angles, is, how is AI currently being used? And then what is, especially, you've got some visibility working with your clients, what is on the kind of proximate horizon, I guess, of additional use cases? And then those same questions, I know, Austin, you're kind of on the forefront, right, of helping people to use AI in different ways. And Lynn, obviously, you've been looking at this as well, especially for your work, your book, which I'm excited to read. So sounds like it's quite funny in some bits, right? So yeah, just how is it being used, and what do we see on kind of the immediate horizon?
Absolutely. Take this as a teaser because the answer will change a month from now. I'm pretty sure. So how AI is being used in finance function, I'll just looking at our audience, I'll just take two big areas. One is maybe in the corporate finance world now, many CFA charter holders or finance majors are going into. AI is being used in truly streamlining some of the workflows, getting rid of the tedious sort of check type of work. So, for example, accounting is using AI tremendously shorten some of the close cycle times and also bring in additional context for decision making or due diligence efforts. And FP&A, basically budgeting planning, utilize a lot of intelligence. Now AI really accelerate that intelligence gathering, but from different sources, structured and unstructured data, but also making decisions across functions between business and finance. Now that you have almost like an AI translator that help you to make the number more business sense or link directly to business objectives quickly. And on the asset management front, on the investment team, okay, before going into the investment team, it's actually AI being used very broadly on operations, especially I would say communication related. You mentioned some internal secure bots. I think that's very popular and common among a lot of the asset managers because that really accelerates the communication, writing, and reviewing and compliance process. But we are also seeing more and more AI is being used in investment process. It definitely started with the easy ones like compiling and digesting investment filings. We all know there's a tons. But now with AI agents, I would say a lot more naturally integrated into investment decision-making process. We're seeing more creative ways of using AI. So, for example, maybe some of the AI agents can adopt different investment personas, and having them as part of the investment, debate or investment discussion process proved to be very helpful. And what's on the horizon? I would say a lot of firms are done with, adopting and trusting AI chatbots. But how do you move forward in that sense of being truly integrating AI into the workflow, but with a firm objective of aligning the AI usage to business objective, but also what's really making your firm or business special? Can AI enhance that? Or that's a tougher question because what is truly your differentiated advantage, and how do you use AI to enhance that rather than going into the big consensus machine that AI tends to be if you're not careful. So I'll stop there. I know it's a very exciting and fastly evolving, and happy to hear what other panelists are saying.
That's the first time I've heard it referred to as the big consensus machine, and I love that. That's a phrase I will use again. It sort of draws us into the average of everyone's opinions. Thank you. That was a great start. I mean, some statistics I think are helpful to navigate. You read the news, you think everyone has solved every problem they have with AI already, and you're way behind. And the best data we have right now is about 40%, 40 to 50% of people use AI at work. And about 20% of those people use it every day at work. And so if you take 100 people, the number of people that are using it every day, it is still very low. One thing I want people to hear is that we're in like the first inning of all of this. And if you're old enough to remember what MS-DOS looked like in the 1980s, that's kind of what we have right now. And it feels very magical, and it feels like some very advanced technology, and it is, but we're still really, really early. And so I want people to hear that so you feel like you can give yourself a little grace in that everyone is getting started right now in this moment. At Birmingham AI, we launched a special meetup for finance professionals just a few months. Really interesting to watch. One of the first things we grappled with was, how good is AI in Excel? And the answer is not good at all. And I'm going to put something in the chat. Let me make sure if I'm sending this to everybody. Which I think is an interesting benchmark to follow moving forward. OpenAI released this. It's called GDP Val. And the way it works is they had subject matter experts evaluate the results from an AI and from a human across 44 different real world tasks, complicated tasks. And the subject matter expert had to decide which one they liked better, and they didn't know where it came from. Okay. So the best models in the world right now, humans prefer them, 40% of the time. Okay. And this may be a lot of what you're feeling sometime at work when you try something and you're like, maybe I'll just keep doing this myself. And the point that I want you to take away from this, though, is that like Joyce started out with, 3 months from now, this may look really different. 6 months from now, it'll look really different. But this is a really important benchmark to follow around how good is AI at doing the real world things that we get paid to do every day. So it's something worth following. And it may be surprising to you to see that in many cases, they aren't that good yet. But yet is the important word there.
When we talk about use cases in finance, right, there's one fundamentally important fact about generative AI we need to understand. It's a statistical model. and it will give you different answers for the exact same prompt. And sometimes it hallucinates. In other words, it makes things up, right? So I just came back from Paris, where I was on a panel with the group AI officer of BNP Paribas. And what he said is, we're in the financial industry. We cannot afford AI to be creative. So AI helps us with operational processes, but not generating new things. And if you're talking about, getting back to what Joyce said about AI agents can so far only do very specific tasks. And the human in the loop is still required, as you can simply not risk that the AI agents are taking the full automation at this point. The models are probability based, and they can sometimes get creative in ways you do not want them to. So especially in asset management or banking, you probably don't want to do that. So maybe just to give you concrete examples, right? So maybe give you an example task. So you tell this AI agent, get current PE ratios for the S&P 500. So that's a non-generative AI task, very straightforward. So that is easily automatable. But if you are asking that generative AI to analyze the tone of CEO remarks in that Q1 call, then you can fine tune, some of the sentiment into your models, and then you ask the agent to rebalance your model portfolio to the target weights, and you'll place these trades over your broker API. So before you push the button for your $1 million placements, you definitely want to do a sanity check before execution.
Great. Thank you so much. So I would think we want to lead with kind of the positive, right? The optimistic side, and talk about why we collectively, you guys as experts, think that people should be excited, about kind of the advance of AI, the ability to use it. I had taken some notes in our pre-call about kind of being able to expand your sense of agency, being able to access information, having a tailwind to choose to grow your own skills, right, and learn more, and again, getting access to education. So would love to just, I guess, share some examples again from each of your vantage points about why the audience should approach this technological change with enthusiasm and look at it again as a chance to develop professionally, which we're talking about, but also personally. Should we start with Joyce again? Or I don't know, maybe we'll start with Austin on this one, right? Just to kind of vary it a little bit.
Little
Okay.
round robin.
There
Yeah,
you go.
absolutely. Absolutely. It is very hard to become a CFA charter holder if you are not an active, eager learner. And it was one of the most rewarding learning experiences of my life, and it continues to be throughout my career. And so, if you're on this call, you're kind of wired up that way. And so, AI is a really interesting moment for you because it's just a great time to learn anything. You sort of have this infinitely patient, knowledgeable tutor where you can bring any question to that experience and get an answer. And it's a big unlock for people when they realize I can ask anything. Now, results may vary. It's the early innings of these tools. They have great responses, but they are still a little wired up to say that we're geniuses and that, to give us answers that we want to hear. But I think there's just a real opportunity for active learners to really lean into that in this moment. A big thing we say in Birmingham AI over and over again to people, we mean it, is we want people to feel like this is happening for you, not to you. And that just means being engaged with it, being aware, and finding time to play around with this stuff. You may have things that are pretty locked down at work. A lot of y'all are in environments that are pretty restricted. And so that may mean, spending some time outside of work. I found people having some of the most wonderful experiences doing things that have nothing to do with work. And that could be, like one of my friends called me and said, oh, I just wrote a bedtime story for my children, or I'm working on a garden in the backyard. When you find something that is personally interesting to you outside of work that kind of lights you up and you bring that to the experience, it's a really fun way to engage with these tools. There's something about just writing better emails that isn't the most exciting thing for people. It's cool that we can do that. But I've really loved having conversations with people where they've engaged with a tool like ChatGPT or something in an area they're already really passionate about. So one little thing to try if you haven't.
I couldn't agree more with you, Austin. I think understandably, at the moment, there's a lot of fear going around of being left behind with this rapid AI development everywhere. And I just want to bring another quote from another AI expert, Andrew Chin, who is the chief AI officer of Allianz Bernstein. And I asked him the question from the audience. It was like, how can I learn about all the AI tools and applications? And his one word answer was AI, right? So if you think about what AI can do, it is leveling the playing field. So anyone with the ambition can now learn about AI and upskill themselves through AI. And it comes down to each one of us if we want to lean into it or being left behind. So just to give you an example, one of our employees, she's a linguist by training, and she was also a teacher with a teaching background. She learned vibe coding through Grok, and she managed how to learn about front-end platform development. And that was just amazing for us because, just a couple of years ago, we would have to send her into training courses to do that. And she was just doing this beside work. She was just upskilling herself with vibe coding, and that's pretty impressive. And for myself, I built a snow forecast model on Python. I'm a very keen skier, so I just really want to know where the snow falls next. And with very basic previous programming experience, I managed to do that. So I just think it really opens up just immense opportunities for everyone to get themselves upskilled with this new technology, about this new technology.
Yeah, I don't have much to add there. I mean, that's really positive and comprehensive. Maybe just a little point additionally. I think I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm pretty sure many in the audience are the same because we are inherently, as Austin said, curious and love learning and also think independently. I think one topic that I've been thinking is so-called career path is we're so used to it. We have career paths now. Everyone worry that career path is gone. But if we lengthen the horizon, historically, there's a very brief period where people could say with confidence that they know their career path will be there between, the time they were born to, the time they disappear from the earth. So if we have that hat, then we don't really need to be so caught up in what's existing career paths and really hold on to it because really we can reimagine how things are done. So one of the most exciting discussion topics usually I come to with finance leaders. And actually, I would count Andrew Chen in there as well because he's one of those leaders who constantly asked, how will you reimagine a firm doing, whatever you are doing today if you start it now? And interestingly, more or less all these business models will be run, if you are a user of AI, will be run more efficiently. You can start a very lean operation doing tons of stuff that maybe in the past you need a large team to deal with. And especially in an asset management team, when you think about how many people typically are in a firm. But that also creates entrepreneurship opportunities. I know we all, one way or another on the panel, have some experience on that. But I would say doing what I'm doing now probably is not possible without AI. So I would just stop there and then get you start to think beyond your maybe typical career path.
Right. Thank you guys so much. So I think we've already been touching on it just in these responses, but one of the other areas we wanted to make sure that we did spend some time with is the just acknowledging and being empathetic to where there are worries. I mean, broadly, I think across, again, the kind of working world, but maybe more specifically in our industry, around potentially job disruption. Again, just how people's careers can evolve if you're kind of closer to the end of your career, if you're at the very beginning of a career trying to break in. So, wanted to get a little bit more, and you guys have spoken to it already, but any individual views that you'd want to share, just so, again, like, 'cause I think this is that space that we can be a little bit more vulnerable, a bit more honest with each other, and think about kind of the whole person, right? So, what would we say in terms of advice, for example, to folks who are a bit more concerned? Maybe I'll start with Lynn for this one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a central question about when machines are taking over our jobs, and what is going to happen. What am I going to do? These are very basic fears, obviously, that each one of us has, and I think the fear right now that is going around is because the development of this AI is just so rapid. And there's so many people fearing, especially entry-level jobs are probably going to disappear. There was an article in The Economist lately that looked a little bit deeper into how entry-level jobs were impacted by AI. And the interesting fact that they found was that the companies that do have AI enablers, so to speak, people who are really enabling AI within the company, these companies had more impact on entry-level jobs. So that they actually were disappearing more than companies that didn't adopt AI that much. So yes, it will have an impact on entry-level jobs. I think that's something that's happening with each new technology. Some winners are going to emerge and some losers are going to emerge. And I think that entry-level jobs are going to be part of the losing side, unfortunately. But at the same time, going back to how do you upskill yourself, right? That's an opportunity for all of us, and even especially the young people who want to get into the financial industry or in any job these days. You can really learn in much better manners than we had before. There's much more possibilities how to upskill yourself. And that's certainly one thing that I would recommend everyone to do. Just learn about AI. Just learn about what is needed in the future. And maybe I have a Chinese background, so maybe I can just go a little bit into what China does. There's obviously this Chinese-US war on who has the best AI technology, and I think China is catching up, but they're probably not. Their goal is probably not even to take the lead technologically. But if you think about what they do with their population, they are now implementing AI education in each school, right? I mean, of course, now it's only started. They have a couple of pilot schools, but the goal is really that every elementary school in China by 2030 will teach how to use AI. And they are building the workforce of the future. I think that's going to be commodity at some point. You will have to know how to data engineer. You need to know how to use AI in a sensible way, and that's what China does. They are providing what they have is talent. What they have is people, and I think that it's a very strategic kind of thinking if you are upskilling the people, because we see in many companies that it's not the problem that the technology doesn't work; it's that the people don't know how to use it. But that's a gap that can be closed if we are doing it right in the educational way.
Right. Joyce, maybe over to you.
Yeah, so one of the things I enjoy doing a lot is going to college campus and talk to college students in finance about how I see it and hear what they are doing and how they are viewing this. So acknowledging a lot of fear and also a lot of uncertainty, but I'm so empowered by the conversations and also seeing some of the things that students are now taking into their hands in doing. So I'll just share one or two things that make people maybe feel better for themselves or their children prospects. So one area that I think also acknowledged by companies is they are using these entry-level internships or college student graduates very differently. So in the past, maybe let's take asset management as an example. In the past, interns were assigned maybe a company analysis task, and then they work together to build models and all that stuff. Now the interns are being assigned to create, unstructured data analysis using AI. Or teaching some of their colleagues, more experienced colleague, on how to translate some of the investment viewpoints into visualization so that they can present to their investors. And that sort of things, I feel like the cross-generational or cross skill set type of collaboration is actually becoming much more meaningful for entry level people. So I was just very, very excited about people double clicking on that. Like, how can I have my agency and showcase my skills instead of waiting in turn, like after 3 years of experience, I can speak up at these meetings. Now they're participating from day one. And the second part, I would say for entry level upskilling or reskilling is that aspect of communicating outwardly. I think in the past, it's a little bit less common for young people to communicate what they can do. But now with, again, like AI skills or AI tools, I see more and more young people create their own sort of showcasing their skill sets by projects, by the writings, by even communicating directly on some of the social media or other channels with more experienced professionals, creating that internship or creating that job opportunity themselves. So I do enjoy
You
that.
want to start with your leftover?
I think somebody is maybe should be on mute if they have some audio in the background. So please, if you're not speaking, put yourself on mute. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take the cue, but
No. We want to hear you.
basically, I just feel like I see a lot of more two-way learnings these days, and really, again, to Austin's point of view, we're so early in this. No one is ahead of you by more than 2 years when it comes to Gen AI. So don't sell yourself short.
Right.
Yeah, this is a big area of concern. I've loved hearing everyone's perspective on this. I think people should be aware of what the people that run the big labs are saying. Dario Amodei is the CEO of Anthropic, said that he thinks 50% of entry-level knowledge worker jobs will be gone in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, I don't necessarily believe that. You might not believe that, but I think people should hear that, wrestle with a little bit, and sort of form your own opinion. And I would encourage people to identify people, online to follow, or the voices you listen to, that have some humility around what they think is going to happen here, because we don't really know. 200 years ago, most of us were farming, and if they looked at the jobs we had now, they would think they were like fake jobs. It's like, oh, y'all have food. What are you even doing? And I think it's really interesting. 60% of the roles in 2010 didn't exist in 1950. So there were no software developers, customer success managers. There weren't, financial advisors in the same way. And so there's just this churn. And I think that's just going to be compressed a lot. I think it's going to be 2035 and 60% of the jobs might be new. And that means a lot of the jobs today will be gone. But it's sort of up in the air on what those new jobs will be, where they will be created, what they will look like. I just go back to my point about this being a group of active, engaged learners. I think everybody, whether you feel it every day or not, you are in a good position to engage with what's going on and be ready. So I think just coming back, that sense of agency is really important in this moment. There is that, sort of outside chance that AI does sort of all the work. And we don't really know, but I don't expect that to happen in the next 5 years. Again, being in businesses and trying to actually help people implement some of this stuff, you see, this came up from some other panelists, like just the organizational change, getting humans to adopt new behaviors is really hard. And so that's sort of a case for a longer tail of adoption where maybe this doesn't happen to us all of a sudden.
I mean, there are some really good, like utopian and dystopian science fiction novels that I read growing up where people were just paid to exist, right? Because technology was doing everything, and then you got to get paid to exist and go skiing, like Lynn. So, I mean, maybe that utopia. So, my last question that I had was effectively, I think we've done it on the panel, which is wonderful. Kind of like, what's your best advice or best practices to, to address these things, or kind of in terms of what people have the capacity to personally do for themselves, or how you're positioning yourself to thrive, right? Not just it kind of endure, but to thrive in the context of technological change. I'll leave it open. If the panelists feel like they want to add something to their prior answer, you can certainly do that. I also want to say that, we're interested to hear from others, if you're participating in the chat. So if you have a advice or best practice or kind of thought, right, about kind of, again, how do we position ourselves professionally, right, as financial advisors and personally, to thrive in the context of change. We'd love to see that in the chat. Well, while we go through that, I'm looking, there are a couple of good questions that have come in already. So I'm happy to, I know we can all see them, but I'll read them out and kind of we'll address them. And then, if you do have more questions, please feel free to put them in. So quickly to the panel, anybody else have any specifics they want to call out before we sort of wrap on this? And then, yeah, like I said, we're happy to hear from the audience too.
I would just have one thing. I
Yeah.
know it's always feeling a little bit overwhelming when there's new tools coming out every day. Like you can't possibly try them all. And especially given some of them need a little bit more best practice and all that. I hope to say this to put you at ease. First of all, the tools will become easier and easier to use. That's the trend. But also the philosophies or principles are similar. So how do you communicate clearly to AI about what good looks like evaluate and maybe test driven, like how do you test puts and then provide that feedback to AI and sometimes ask AI to refine your prompt or refine your process. And that feedback process is the same across different tools. So I just wanted to make sure that you understand that and keep that in mind so that you learn one tool. Yes, you probably are learning 10 tools at the same time. You just didn't know it yet, but just keep using that principle again and again and improve how you feel like the best way to communicate back and forth with AI, either through agent or through chatbot or through some other coding tools. And secondly, just ask what are you doing day to day? Just keep asking. Maybe you don't find a tool right now, but keep asking like, what am I doing day to day repeatedly that I wonder if there's a solution to take it off my hands. So I use Claude Code a lot, but I started to using it as a life management operating system. I think other people are doing the same. So just keep asking yourself like, oh, do I really want to do that every day? Like 5 minutes a day is a lot during my life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from my side, I got once life advice from one of my mentors, and he told me hard skills get you hired, soft skills get you promoted, but human skills make you a leader. So, in the age of AI, let's not forget that humans are working with each other. And as machines are taking over the hard skills, we have to focus more on the soft skills and the human skills, because only that can really bring any company or any country or any society forward. And that is, I think, one thing we should never forget. Machines can take over tasks, but humans are the ones in the lead.
Awesome.
Those are two powerful messages. I have nothing
Yeah.
else to add.
All right. That's a
That
good
was
way to
great.
like end it. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Austin. Okay, perfect. So let's do a few of the questions. I think one, maybe I'll kind of pitch it to you, Joyce, but how much of the investment decisions should be allocated to AI? We were talking about it, obviously our organization too. Like, and how would this impact, accountability, client fiduciary duty? How does it impact compensation? So any thoughts you have again from kind of your consulting work with your clients?
I talk to board directors a lot, and those are questions that boards ask a lot. So, especially when it's such a heavily regulated industry, a lot of funds are have to really report how decisions are made. And then exactly to Lynn's earlier point, if you ask AI three times, they say three different things on the same question, like how do you audit that output? So I would just say it's definitely still a up in the air, challenging area in terms of how much a decision should be allocated to AI, but it's a spectrum. So a lot of steps are leading to investment decisions, such as modeling, such as going into unstructured data to do due diligence, such as compliance overlay on some of these research process. Those are more and more is a human plus AI process now. The final decision, I would say, unless you are very much a AI fund, I see very few that outsource completely to AI. So I don't think that would change in the next 1 or 2 years at all. And we still haven't got convincing evidence that if we outsource 100% to AI, it will make better decisions than human in investment outcome. So that's good news. And the accountability, client fiduciary duties, those are very well considered right now with the risk guardrails and also some of the operational methodology put wrapping around how people use AI. So I worry less about that because we're basically adhering to the same standard, privacy, security, that has existing for a long time in our industry. And there's really no reinventing wheels to open doors for AI there. And compensation, is still in the air. Right? How do you structure the team? It really depends on, the investment style, also asset class you invest in. So right now, I don't see AI affecting compensation yet, but could it affecting the organizational structure? Maybe. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that at the moment.
Got it.
Interestingly, I talked to one of the asset managers in Hong Kong a while ago, and he told me that they now have an AI in a seat in the investment committee.
Yep.
So their argument is, look, AI makes more rational decisions than people. Maybe can be overwhelmed by our emotions. And what we're doing now, we have this AI as an investment committee member. So it just has a voice in it. And sometimes if we are voting on something, that AI can vote as well. So I thought that was a very interesting approach. Obviously, the randomness of generative AI is still a little bit questionable. Can it really make rational decisions, more rational decisions than humans? I'm not quite sure because if you are feeding it biased data, it's going to have the bias as well, right? So I just found it very interesting. Is that going to be the future? Are we going to have AI making investment decisions for us? Maybe, but for now, I think it's just experimental.
Right. We've got a great question. Oh, Austin, did you want to add something on that?
I have a couple of things. I mean, I think for a long time, I don't think I'm alone in this. I thought the culture at Bridgewater was kind of over the top, but you see what they've done there now is probably pretty interesting in this AI era because they have an enormous amount of context around every conversation they've had, every decision they've made. And I think what gets AI from sort of the average consensus to something that is truly unique is a lot of context. Otherwise, you're kind of talking to a well-intentioned stranger versus someone who understands you or what you're trying to do really well. So I think companies that are able to bring more context to the AI, I think that will accelerate their ability to use these tools better. And then I would sort of pivot to one other kind of larger idea, which is we are all investment professionals and are around incredibly talented investment professionals. I do think about how this will impact sort of your regular, kind of average person trying to deal with their investments. I remember 2 years ago, they put AI up against a panel of doctors from the Mayo Clinic and were testing diagnostic abilities, and the AI didn't win. And I thought to myself, people in these rural places, let's say in Alabama, like don't have access to these 7 doctors in the Mayo Clinic, the next best human for them, the AI probably is already beating sort of the humans they have available to help them. And I wonder for like the average person, like looking at their investments or their portfolio, if these AI tools won't be immediately helpful and better just because they don't have access to maybe the world's top investment professionals. So I think that's interesting. And I think will be very democratizing and helpful for people, sort of the average person making investment decisions in their lives.
I realize I need to clarify when I say AI is not going to be used in investment decisions. I meant Gen AI, not the
Yeah.
traditional, AI that has been in machine learning and has been used in investment decision making for quant funds for a long
Oh,
time.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Perfect. Great question from Helen. I want to make sure we got to it. This was kind of the more experience in the finance industry, the greater likelihood of being wary of AI because, with your work and it kind of how do you encourage more experienced colleagues to learn and implement AI and why should they even care if they're in the latter part of their career? In our pre-meet, we actually referenced some people saying, I'm just going to try to retire early, right? Before I get disrupted in my particular area. So maybe a few comments if people want to make on that.
I can be really, really quick. I have many friends are in that cohort, and I think there are definitely 2 ways to do it. One is if you are staying in a corporate job, the level of decision making right now with AI move beyond what technology can do. It's more about do you have that business sense to make decisions where you think AI outputs or AI process is serving that business objective, and that requires a lot of business insight. And I call it it's a very overused word, like calling taste. You develop that taste throughout your 20, 30 years career. Definitely lean into that. Don't make people feel like you are resisting change. In fact, you are elevating what AI can do with your business insight. And the other way, of course, if you take the early retirement route, it's only early retirement from corporate job. There's just so much now you can do as a solo entrepreneur with the technology so cheaply available and powerful too.
Terrific. We had a fun question, so as we're kind of running close to time, and again, one last call for additional questions. I thought we would address this one. So for folks who maybe are less familiar, this was in reference to Ray Dalio from Bridgewater, basically kind of his foray into AI with a digital ray. So basically an AI clone of himself that folks can interact with, right? It being currently in beta testing mode. So a question from Paul. Paul, thank you. And we were sort of saying, do we see others in the future? And Paul used the examples of Warren Buffett. So important, right? Especially kind of folks who are getting on in years. We want to keep them around maybe longer so we can interact with them. Kobe Bryant was here. John Wooden. I mean, I don't know. Kim Kardashian, right? That's outside of the investment sphere. But I'd be curious to hear what people think. Maybe Austin, this is kind of maybe a good one for you. But this idea of, the kind of digital clone. I mean, I will tell you, when I was in business school, we heard a pitch from Twitter, that the team, that launched Twitter. And we summarily as a group didn't understand the business model at all. Like, why would anybody want to be, like limited to just a small number of characters when you could be on Facebook and just write as much as you want to your friends? Because we did not think about the kind of following of celebrities, right? And kind of, big names. It was at the time a much more personal endeavor on social media. So this is, it is interesting to think about what a future looks like if you can kind of interact with these digital avatars of real people. So any thoughts? This is this science fiction one right here, right?
That's right. And Kim Kardashian has made some good investment decisions actually over the years. So,
there you
go. Tyler Cowen, who a lot of people might recognize as an economist who speaks and writes about AI a lot, wrote a book last year about sort of his favorite economist and sort of outline his views and all that. And he made this very funny comment, I thought, when the book came out. He said, it's okay if humans read this book. I really wrote this book for AI. And I'm thinking, what is he talking about? And what he's saying is there's a world where if what you think, feel isn't sort of out in the world, then AI doesn't you don't exist to AI. And that's slightly terrifying. And what he was saying is, to the extent I can promote the things I care about and put them out in the world, this will be part of future AI training runs. And in 100 years, people will know who I am because I am now part of this corpus of knowledge. And so, yeah, we will be able to create very interesting avatars of people who are public, who sort of have public lives in that way. Or even Ray Dalio, it's private, but it's, they have an enormous amount of information. So again, I think that's very democratizing. I mean, for the average person to be able to go have a chat with Ray about some decision in their life, I mean, he has a very powerful set of principles about how he makes decisions. And I think that's incredibly compelling. And again, that's going to be a big upgrade for maybe the types of advisors people have access to. I'm not going to create an avatar of myself right now. I like people interacting with the real version of me. But you can very easily, if that's something you're interested in, and you had like an hour to play around with it, you can do that very quickly now.
Right. Okay. I guess we can do the last one here. So understanding that we're at the beginning stages of AI implementation, any thoughts on how much AI can add to a nation's GDP? I don't know if any of us are kind of qualified on this front, but any thoughts that maybe from some of the companies you guys advise, right?
It's a requirement in all these types of conversations for every panelist to have to make some kind of forecast.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I'm curious what Lynn, Joyce, what y'all think?
Well, I think it's we addressed the whole question of are we in an AI bubble or not, right? And that also goes a little bit into, does it really then seep into GDP or not? I just think at the moment valuations are high. Is it going to burst? I'm not sure if it's going to burst spectacularly, because what we're seeing right now is a consolidation in the way that Microsoft is now internalizing OpenAI, right? Now they have like a deal with them until 2032 to deliver the cloud services, the cloud infrastructure to them. And if you think about, that's also revenue generated. And that's the thing that really creates value for an economy. And the AI companies themselves are not making a lot of revenues right now, maybe 50 billion with a 3 trillion investment. That's a very sad ROI, of course. But if you think about the whole infrastructure around it, the shuttle sellers like NVIDIA, like the cloud providers and so on, there's a huge AI ecosystem out there that is creating value and is creating revenues. And the question here is, how will this now really transform or transition into real values for companies when we're using AI? What kind of ROI does actually that translate to in the companies? And that's very hard to measure right now. I think a lot of companies are still experimenting, but it's just a question of time. At some point, AI is going to deliver ROI, and maybe it's already delivering ROI today, but it's very hard to measure. So yes, I think at some point it's going to show in the GDP as well, but it's a little bit of a long way. I think it just takes some time until everything consolidates.
Right. Well, I think that's a good note, maybe, to sort of pause on, just being respectful of people's time. Thank you so much, Joyce, Lynn, Austin. It's just been a wonderful chat. It's just a pleasure to get to know you guys and hear your thoughts. Thank you to everybody in the audience. As predicted, this is, again, a favorite event for me. And I'm going to pass over to Ariel so you guys can continue.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. Marina, thank you for moderating. Thank you, Joyce, Austin, and Lynn. This was an amazing conversation, and I really appreciate you sharing your insights and perspectives. I know that I got a lot of takeaways, both just from all different aspects in terms of technical versus kind of more the soft skills. I think we still got some background noise coming in here. Okay, I will wrap us up. Thank you once again to our host society, CFA Society Colorado and CFA Society Romania. We couldn't have done the event without you. And I do want to point out for those of you who are not on our newsletter or haven't been to our website, our next event, which will be February 3rd, 2026, is a live Q&A with the author, Predictably Irrational, The Hidden Forces That Shape Our Decisions, and it's featuring Dan Ariely. Of special note, this event in February will be live only, so it won't be recorded. So unlike our other events, you will need to tune in live to be able to participate and interact with our guest. Just a reminder to stay informed and up to date, check out our website, sign up for our newsletter, follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed the program and you've got some good takeaways. And then definitely follow our panelists if you haven't done so already on LinkedIn.